Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so let me introduce our speaker. So our speaker is called Chris Ouma. So Chris Ouma is currently the monitoring, evaluation, and learning manager, learning advisor at IREX. Yeah, and Chris is also a consultant for many years. He's consulted for many organizations, it's mostly the Public Health and Youth Empowerment Center. But above all, Chris Ouma is a mentor. Yeah, a lot of mostly young people have passed through Chris, where they come from what we call from zero to hero. Yeah, they're actually really thriving in different spaces. Quite a number of them are now leading a community-based organization. Also, some of them are thriving in business here. Yeah, so there's no any other person who is best to help us and understand what mentorship is and what are the qualities of a mentor other than Chris Ouma. Yeah. So without further ado, I'll just welcome Chris to say something as an opening remark, then we continue. Karibu, Chris.
Asante sana. Thank you, Eric. I'd registered my sincere regrets that I'm not able to join on video. I'm actually on transition, so I'm at the border, Kenya and Uganda, the Busia border, so my connection is a little bit shaky. But I'm really happy to join the team here and to have this conversation. As my good friend Eric has pointed out, this is a very important and a very dear topic to me, talking about mentorship, because it's a topic not just then has had a profound effect on my own journey, but it's something that I've seen influence many young people, not just young people, but also very many people in their career path in a very impactful way. And so anytime I'm given an opportunity or I have a chance to be able to speak to young people about mentorship, it's always exciting, it's always inspiring and heartwarming. And so I'm really super excited to be here and be sharing some ideas based on my own personal experiences and professional journey. And I would be glad if I really get to know who is here and what are they currently doing with the little time they have on their plate. And that would be helpful in terms of just also guiding me to point to specific things that might be of help. So maybe Eric, if you can allow participants just either to put on the chat their name, what they're currently doing, and where they're picking this call from, then that would also be helpful as we get started. Otherwise, back to you to be able to provide guidance as we move forward.
Thank you, Chris, for that. Thank you, Chris. Being that we are few, we can allow you to unmute and just introduce yourself, professional what you're doing, and probably your expectations for this webinar. If you're not able to unmute yourself, then you can use the chat. We are few, so we can take the next 5 minutes to do that. Yeah, so anybody who would want to unmute and introduce themselves, so that then Chris knows who is here and help tailor make whatever he wants to say to us today. If you're unable, you can use the chat. Yes, Andrew? Andrew, are you trying to talk? There's Omondi Fred says he's a strategy information officer with an NGO in Nairobi. Okay, any other person? Yes, we're just introducing ourselves. Brenda Oroto is a master's student at Masinde Muliro University. Any other person? Okay. Yeah, I think So Andrew is also a master's student at Park University. Yeah, so we got 2 students and 1 person who is employed. Okay, I think the rest, you just use the chat and introduce yourself as we move along. Yeah, so Chris, maybe we can just begin. There's Eric Kataka says he's an agribusiness and project management specialist. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So as they're introducing yourself, Chris, we can just begin. And probably the first question would be, what is your understanding of mentorship? And why do you think mentorship is important, especially for somebody professional and career development?
Thank you, Eric, for that question. Maybe I can pose this question to the rest of us as I respond to your question. How many of you have ever benefited from someone, either just through guidance or advice or expertise in your personal or professional journey? Just think about that. Have you ever reached out to someone asking for help, asking for guidance? Even sometimes, I mean, asking for direction to a place. That then is an indication that then nearly all of us need help in a way or the other, because then it's driven by this notion of being uncertain or not knowing something. And so, simply put, for me, mentorship would then be help or guidance you seek from someone else, given that either the person has experience or knowledge of what you feel is helpful to you. So it could be an assumption you make because you may not know the person. But just the fact that you think of reaching out to someone for guidance, for help, for some knowledge, for wisdom, so that then you can succeed in any pursuit, either personal or professional growth, then I would call that really the basis of mentorship. That we reach out, but then it's not just a single encounter where you meet someone by the road and you ask them, can you show me a particular office or place? But rather, the intention is reaching out with knowledge that you want to learn more, so that based on that knowledge or guidance or information the person shares with you, it can then be of help in your personal or professional growth. Then that in itself, I would actually qualify as mentorship. You build a relationship, and mostly with the understanding that the person I'm building a relationship has some knowledge or understanding of an issue. And based on their knowledge or experience or understanding, it would help me succeed in my personal life, in my professional life. Back to you, Eric.
Thank you, thank you. And Chris, do you think it's important because maybe there's somebody who feels that they can make it on their own? Do you think mentorship is important from your own experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so most cases we find ourselves, and I think this is driven by socialization. So socialization in the sense that we have been brought up in circumstances and environments where we have been pushed to be the best in everything. And mostly from school, where you always strive to be the best, you always want to be number one, you're always ranked. And so that in itself has made many young people or many people in our society feel like they don't need help from anyone because they've always been wanting or they're always the best. But then the reality is that all of us, as I said at the beginning, needs in a way or the other some form of guidance or help to be able to succeed. So to answer your question, yes, I don't think any one of us would really succeed to a level that then is optimal if we never face that or approach that from a mentorship. You may not calling it a mentorship, but a relationship perspective. And why I say that, for example, let's talk about a business. You need clients. Even if you're the best business guru, think about maybe the best in classroom in business classes, having all the capital and everything. You need people in your business. So look at that as an example. In education sector, A student needs help of teachers, but teachers also need the help of parents. And so there's a lot of interconnection in our society to an extent that then if we all agree that mentorship is about relationship, then definitely success, optimal success. We can succeed, yes, but optimal success, in my opinion, really is hinged on effective mentorship that we get from those who are ahead of us or those who have some special gifts that we may not have at disposal. Yes.
Thank you, Chris. I'm a mentee. I have a problem. I'm looking out for a mentor. What are some of the qualities that I need to look out for, and so that you're saying the relationship is effective? By the end of it, it's effective mentorship. What are some of the qualities of a mentor that you are aware of from your experience?
Thanks, Eric. So the fact that you acknowledge that mentorship will actually accelerate your growth, it will make you even move faster within that ladder, whether personal or professional journey. The fact that it does that purpose, it's something that then we need to be very careful when you're reaching out for that mentorship. You need to be very careful and you need to do a lot of homework, a lot of research to be able to understand who am I actually reaching out to for help. And because I mentioned or I defined mentorship is more of a relationship, one of the things that is critical is trust. That then, whatever I'm going to share with you, then you, in a way, you will believe on that and act upon it. Because if you don't believe in what I'm sharing with you as a mentor and you don't act on it, then the speed of transformation is likely to be slow. And then the other thing is respect. A mentee and a mentor, there's a relationship that has to be acknowledged that exists. I think most of the time, even from my experience, some mentees have failed to acknowledge that, and sometimes it's really difficult to give the necessary support to help them really succeed. And the other one is aspect of communication. So this may not really be you trusting the other side because a two-way street. It's both of you. Are you able to cultivate trust as a mentor and a mentee? Is the person you're reaching out able really to trust you, or are you able to trust that person? So from really generic aspect, that needs to be something that you're really keen on to be able to cultivate and then work around it. Now, respect may be developed along the way because you've not interacted with the person much. And then the aspect of communication, which is also really key. Because I think most of the time, from my own experience, mentors are really people who are busy. And sometimes the people who are reaching out to be mentored, they are not very proactive. So they're waiting for mentors to reach out to them. They're waiting for mentors to give them direction in terms of what next. The proactiveness is really critical. So if by any chance, any one of you is thinking about mentorship and they're looking for qualities, it's not so much about the personality. It's so much about what makes mentorship succeed, which are the three elements that I've mentioned. Are you able to find a mentor that you can trust and you can cultivate trust between the two of you? Work around respect and openly engage. And openly engage the sense that they're able to give some form of criticism, positive one, of course, that then can help you be able to work around issues that you are struggling in life or in career. And then based on those feedbacks, you're actually able to move. So if you are able to work around those three things, I think for me, it's not so much about the person, it's not so much about even the experiences, it's so much about really what makes an effective mentorship, which is trust, respect, and open communication. Eric.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris. Still touching on the qualities. Should the mentor be somebody within your industry or anybody even out of your industry? Assuming maybe a research, would the mentor be out of research and still the mentorship becomes effective?
Thanks, Eric. I think the answer for me in that would be both. What does that mean? Like, no, I mean, my interpretation of your question, should a mentor be from the same industry or can they come from different? The answer for me is both. You can either get a mentor who is within the same industry as you, or you can get a mentor who is from a different. Now, having a mentor in your industry can actually provide deep insights, okay? But then when you have someone from outside, they provide fresh perspective. This element of complacency that sometimes comes in. Someone has been in the industry, they're the experts in everything, but they may not have a perspective that is out there based on a trend or something that is actually happening. So that's why I'm saying it would be good. It's no harm for you to get even a mentor who is completely on a different professional or discipline from you. In fact, I would say that sometimes best ideas will always come from unexpected sources. So you actually may get a medical doctor mentoring a teacher, or even a religious person, the clergy, or someone, a religious leader, mentoring even someone in the security sector. As I said, we operate in a very interconnected society, and there's so much wisdom in each and every field. And so it's just upon you to be able to work on your goals as a mentee. What do you really want to achieve on that particular relationship that you're building with a mentor? And now, based on that, someone would guide you. Like last week, I have onboarded another mentee who is actually on a different thing altogether. It's even education and focusing more into children. And those are things that I've personally interacted with but never done. I'm not an expert, I'm not a specialist in that. But through screening process that I normally do for all my mentees, then you come to identify certain aspects that are critical for growth, and then you can share experiences that then aligns with that particular desire that the mentee have. So it's not necessarily that you have to get a mentor from your industry or from your field or discipline, but you can always benefit even from those outside, as long as you are very clear on your mentorship goals, the trajectory you are taking, and then you kind of just pick what then can benefit you from that relationship.
Thank you, Chris, for that. Probably, maybe if you can also comment in terms of maybe gender, assuming I'm a male, could I have a female mentor, or it has to be of the same gender? And if you also comment in terms of age, can I have a mentor with the same age as me, or the mentorship to be effective, the mentor has to be older than me? Could you also comment on that?
That's a good and also delicate question. So I think from my own personal experiences, I've witnessed this. Gender is a critical factor when you're actually looking at it. Age is also a critical factor because of you remember I mentioned about open communication. There are people who are not comfortable because to have a conversation with older people, or there are people who do not understand the language of the younger people. So that is a dynamic. Not everyone is really, I would use the word dynamic in that sense to be able to accommodate those variations. But there are few people who I would say are culturally sensitive, and so they don't struggle really to be able to communicate across different generations. But there are mentors who struggle with intergenerational issues they don't know how to address, for example, a gap. Like I've seen even reports, scientific studies showing that there's a big disconnect where companies are also struggling to be able to accommodate, for example, Gen Zs. So, companies, top leadership, senior leadership is mostly older people. So because of that reality, I think it's important that we pay attention, but does not mean that then you just automatically switch off and don't connect with older people because you're a younger person. I have seen many older people who share wisdom and can easy way struggle a lot because of, again, how we have been socially looked. And understanding that if you have concerns and fears about maybe their age, you could ask them really questions. You can have a conversation with them and tell them that, for example, one of the things that I struggle with, I see you as my grandparent or I see you as my dad. And I've had this relationship with my dad where I'm always closed. I don't like opening up to my dad. How can you help me? You know, that kind of open conversation. And normally that would happen at the very beginning when you're initiating your mentorship. If you don't open up to that, then it becomes very difficult. You can have very good plans, but you're holding back information that could actually help your mentor to be able to understand how to help you. So it's important you let it out. Like every time when I'm doing screening for mentees, I try to get a little bit deeper into understanding their life when they were born, the kind of relationship that they are having with siblings, and the kind of relationship they're also having with their the older people in their life. Like, for example, the experiences with their teachers, experiences with their parents, or whether they were raised with grandparents or just raised with normal parent, biological parents, or even raised with foster parents. That information normally helps me a lot to know how to handle a mentee. The age factor is also critical because if you don't discuss it, I have seen in many cases, unfortunately, some take advantage because mezoeana sasa. So someone take advantage of that. So, and especially mentorship relationship between different or people of different gender. So unless someone is really outright, it can be taken advantage of and it may not succeed. So you got to be very clear and you got to be very honest with yourself as well, both as a mentor and as a mentee. Because some mentees also come on board and anaona, hey, huyu jamaa maze, and is a lady. Huyu jamaa ako sawa, ako successful. So then along the way, you kind of deviate and leave the main agenda and focus on something else, and it doesn't help you. So honesty is really critical. But yes, I agree, gender, age, those are critical factors, including even issues of disability. And even, you know, gender, when you talk about it now, there's issues of diversity. So it's really critical that we are honest with ourselves. Otherwise, it might just mess up that relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, for that. Yeah, so I really want you to expound more on the relationship. You started touching on it, talking about trust and respect. So maybe what exactly would, especially from the mentee's point of view, what do you think they need to do as a mentee to ensure they establish that trust in this mentorship relationship and also respect from your experience?
Yeah, building. Hey, honestly, Eric, building a successful relationship is something that I think is the bigger task. Once you already have found a mentor, I think the biggest task now is to work on how to build that relationship. So that's going to be very critical. And for me, things that I would point to, one, I think I already alluded to this, the issue of proactiveness. Proactiveness, especially from mentees. You know, mentors also have to be very proactive and engaged. But I think one thing that will really make the relationship work best is proactiveness. And what do I mean by proactiveness? As a mentee, don't wait. You know, most of the time mentees kind of wait. And Anasema, in fact, they want to think on your behalf. And Anasema, uko busy, you don't have time. So they're assuming and imagining things on your behalf instead of really like taking action. And so I've seen most of them, for example, you ask them, you reach out to them. When you find a mentor is the one now making effort to reach out to mentee, that's a problem. Is the mentees who actually supposed to be reaching out more than the mentor. And so one thing that can really help is you as a mentee to be the one taking most of the initiative. It is the mentorship is actually going to benefit you. It's your own growth. Remember, the mentor has already grown. They're at a point maybe of self-actualization. There's nothing they're actually looking for. Maybe they're just giving back to the society. So it is upon you. It is you who want to grow. And it is upon you to take the initiative to be able to reach out to this person because you already have a plan. You already have something that then is guiding that growth. So the next step is for you to reach out. And so one thing that I think mentees really need to be keen on is them reaching out. And now reaching out, you got to be very careful. There are people who can be, I don't know how to describe it, but I would say they are bothered to an extent. So at the beginning, you discuss with your mentor, you come up with a mentorship plan. Normally, I draw a mentorship plan, a clear work plan with what needs to be done, your role as a mentee, my role as a mentor, and then with activities. So during particular times, I tell you, we are supposed to meet on a particular week, or we need to reach out with the assignment, feedback on a particular, during a particular time. So it's upon you. Don't wait for me to ask you to reach out and say, hey, I was expecting an assignment. I didn't hear from you, something like that. So I think that's one of the things that's really, really critical for successful mentor-mentorship relationship. The other thing that I already mentioned, I think this is to do with feedback. There are people, you tell them something, they need help, you're reaching out and telling them something, and depending on whatever you're sharing, how they receive it, they might not like it, or they might want to challenge it, and that might also bring some friction. So I think the openness to receiving feedback as on part of the mentee is really important. But also making known your feeling about that relationship with your mentor is critical. Tell them that, yes, I really appreciate the feedback you gave me about this, but how about this? Because some people may not have time, mentors may not have time to dig deep into your life. But sometimes we realize that the challenges you're going through are connected with your life experiences. So whatever you're doing is not really you. It's actually the identity crisis. So fake you that is playing it out. That's why I spend a lot of time with my mentees talking about the experiences, their family life, etc. But bottom line is that really you sharing what you feel about the feedback that has been given, discussing about this feedback is really critical for you to be able to succeed. Yeah, I think those are the things that I would say with regard to relationship, Eric, unless you.
Thank you, Chris. I also want you to comment because as a mentorship program, we mostly deal with students who are in tertiary institutions, and you realize that quite a number of them always want mentorship, but there's always what I'll say they want some quick fix. Where
Yes,
the way you said it's a relationship, it's a journey. So if you come to me today, you can't get help today. We need to move together to a certain destination. You realize most of them are not patient. Wait for that. I don't know how actually they just give up along the way they disappear, thinking that yeah, because they feel that you're not of any help. I don't know what say about that and what kind of advice would you give them.
yeah. I mean, as you're framing this question, I'm laughing at myself because I think there is a narrative that people are already creating. And I'm using that political statement and narrative because I don't want to apportion blame. So there are people who are saying younger people nowadays, they're really out for results. They're not patient. They're not. It all depends, really. For me, it all depends with the person. And it all depends, again, with how we are socializing them. So, yes, there's an element of patience. But again, what are you waiting for? If someone, and I mean, that's why I say this is a political statement. If you're somewhere and you're not seeing results or you're not expecting good results, why would you stay there? So that's a political statement. Now let's get back to the conversation. If by any chance you miss out on the very first co-creation plans, you do a proper screening with your mentor. And the screening is to ask those questions to get to understand each other. You know, some people come into mentorship and they think, I am the boss, I am your mentor, so I know you. So you don't take time to be able to discuss and get to understand the other person. If you guys are going to rush into a conversation, na IREX, nataka tu ni because you do research, I think you can help me in mambo ya research, you want me natafuta job. That's already a problem. I don't do it that way. In fact, you can come to me talking about research, na mimi nianze kufanyia mentorship ya counseling. Na ushinde, what's wrong with this guy? Because from our conversation, I see already a crisis within you. You're actually pushing for certain things because of situation, but that's not what you're really passionate about. So very initial conversation that you have with your mentee or your mentor are really critical for the two of you to be able to get to align the expectations around that relationship. What is it that you expect from me? What is it that I expect from you? Clarify and come up with very well articulated goals on what the relationship will actually be pegged on. And then along the way, have pause and reflect moments. Like have a meeting with your mentee, share with them, give them chance to be able to take some action based on those instructions or guidance. Have a moment to reflect what they feel about that activity or that particular assignment that you gave them, how they feel about their progress, and then you proceed to the next. Not just like constantly pumping knowledge and guidance and advice, and the person you're not paying attention whether they're actually benefiting from that relationship. So I think those are critical things that even mentors make mistake, and therefore mentees along the way they get tired and they drop out. The other thing that could easily lead to a dropout is because the mentor is so busy. So you're trying to reach out to them, they keep postponing meetings, so actually wondering, is this actually taking us anywhere? So that's why I said, on a political line, if you see the relationship not headed anywhere, why stay there? So I keep calling mentor Patikani. What would you do? I would advise you to look for resources or reach out and get another mentor. Otherwise, the energy, the excitement, the motivation will just die and you'll never appreciate mentorship when in real sense, mentorship is something that is really critical. Eric?
Thank you, Chris. Also, in terms of support, I don't know what is the extent that a mentor needs to support the mentee, because again, from our experience as a mentorship program, uh, there's how you can advise and guide somebody, but again, some mentees need support in terms of maybe monetary support or material support. What is your comment on that?
I said mentorship is really valuable. It just depends. Again, as you defined at the beginning, and this is something that most people I think also make a mistake. You know, there's someone we call a sponsor. I think Kenyan young people call them sponyo, but that's a mistake. Because the definition, if you look for a sponsor, is someone who believes in you and is willing to invest even resources in you to become better professionally or in whatever lines. So if that is the case, then I think it's really critical that then you define your relationship right from the onset before you even ask for support. If you're going to someone for them to mentor you and you're looking for a job from them, that's a wrong move. You're looking for a job. That's not mentorship anymore. You only need some level of guidance on how to apply or get a job, full stop. So you need to define from the onset. You go and become, very categorical and clear on what you want. Now, based on that, the mentor should be able to tell you whether they can support that or not. Now, there are people who can sacrifice beyond, invest in you, put more resources, link you up with opportunity. All those things are a form of support that a mentor can actually extend to a mentee. And so it is so much pegged on what is that which connects the two of you. What do you want from that relationship? And then based on that, you can actually see how best, and this is something you define from the beginning. Is this particular mentor going to support me to get a job? Going to support me to enhance my skill? Going to support me to build my networks and connection and et cetera, et cetera. So there are different levels. It depends with really what your relationship aim or goal is. But then I say there's no limit to what mentorship actually can give, because I've seen people who started as a mentor-mentee relationship ending up becoming friends and even becoming business partners and even becoming any other thing that you can imagine based on how you nurture that relationship. So it's really varied. There are those where there are those who can extend it. There are those who can extend it to a short-term relationship just for purposes of achieving a particular goal. There are those who can actually prolong it. Because sometimes, like I would do a 3 month, most of the time I actually do a 3 month mentorship. but I can extend it to 6 months. Anything beyond 1 year, we have to redefine what the relationship is. So you can see what can you support in 3 months? What can you support in 6 months? So you see, time will define, the goals or objective will define, and many other factors can also define what kind of support a mentor can actually give to a mentee. I know I've defined it vaguely, but that's how I would put it based on what I've been doing with my mentees.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris. Maybe the last question would be before I open the floor to people to ask questions. On communication, you probably can also delve more on communication in terms of how then does, especially from the point of a mentee, how do you communicate? You already touched on it, you touched on feedback, but how should the mentee communicate? What kind of media and any other things to watch out for to ensure that the mentorship relationship is very, very effective as far as communication is concerned?
Yes, Eric. It was a bit hazy. I didn't get the whole thing clear, but you asked me a question about communication and how it can.
Yes. How do you utilize communication effective for the benefit of the mentorship relationship?
Okay. Yeah, thanks. So because I opened by highlighting 3 things under the qualities. I talked about trust, respect, and open communication. But then there is the element of the quality, but this is also the element of frequency. Quality and frequency. So I'll touch on those 2 things because they're really critical. One, when you're talking about the quality, then what are we communicating? How is that inspiring and leading to action? You know, you can go and tell someone your story. So this is a mentor, you meet them, you meet for coffee, they tell you their whole story, which is really inspiring. But out of that, it doesn't really point to specific thing that you as a mentor is asking your mentees to do, some action points. So for example, you share with them a story, you share with them stories about successful businesses and stuff like that. How are you able to package that to be able to inspire and get mentees into action? So as a mentor, that's something that is really critical. So that then speaks to the element of quality in communication. But then there's also frequency. So how often do you communicate this to be able to build the kind of energies that will influence change? Now, that relates to mentorship plan that you develop with your mentee. So over time, you have sat down with them, you have come up with a plan because you know what the mentee wants. The mentee has stated it clearly. Then you say the relationship is going to run for the next 3 or 6 months. Now, based on that, how frequent? If it is going to be 3 months and you are planning for 3 meetings, that is injustice. 3 meetings, that means you're only having monthly meetings for 3 months. Do you think in your own estimation and imagination that 3 meetings can be effective enough to help someone, depending on what the relationship was and the goal? So look at that and say, because this is going to be a 3-month engagement, I need to have at least some sit down with them and also some follow-up activities to see whether the mentee is actually putting into practice. So then you agree with them that, is it possible, for example, to do a bi-weekly meeting? So every 2 weeks we meet and we talk about this and you share your feedback. And the other week I give you a chance to be able to implement so that you can report back. So that's something that is really upon the 2 of you to agree. And it is at that point that actually you need to be honest as a mentor and tell your mentee, based on my schedule, I don't think I can make 2 weeks. So that means because I cannot make 2 weeks, we'll be meeting monthly, then we need to prolong it now to 6 months. But if your time allows, instead of doing a prolonged 6 months, let's do 3 months, but bi-weekly. So again, it's so much about you, the 2 of you having a conversation and agreeing on what works best for you. And now based on that predictability, like for me, all my mentees know that every Saturday I have them in cohorts. So they know every Saturday between 10 and 12, 10 a.m. and 12, that's when I have session. So they already know when they're likely to have sessions and the time the session is likely to take. So that also helps them plan as a mentee. You don't assume that mentees wako too free. Wewe pia kama mentor respect mentee size time. So I think it's a two-way. Think about the quality of what you want to communicate, discuss with them the frequency and the feasibility based on what you want to achieve to see whether the timeline allows you actually to be able to have genuine conversation that are effective, that are going actually to influence them to take positive action and transform their lives. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Chris. Maybe the last question then will be, maybe you've got a personal experience or a success story based from the mentorship that you've been doing for many young people that you'd want to share with us, of somebody whom your mentorship has really impacted. That is, if you've got permission to share about them, you are free to tell us that you can even look out for.
I am a product of mentorship. I don't want to share about my mentees. I want to share about myself. But I have
Go
many,
ahead,
as
go
Eric
ahead.
has pointed out. I have many who I can actually share about, and even fresh one, recent ones. One just actually reached out to me today and telling me, I just got a job. Can we meet on 22nd so that we have a toast and have coffee? The guy has been working with some program and we just met last year and I guided through some things. And then it's really been like the things have worked for him. I have mentored executive in organizations, especially what Eric mentioned as CBOs, and their success stories. I'm proud of them. I've guided people, students at universities, and some of them have even changed career completely, from even some who had completed, even graduated from engineering, but through our conversation, they've shifted, put aside the engineering degrees and everything and went into something else. So I have a number of them, don't want to mention names, but I think if you check on my profile, if you check what I've done and everything, I can honestly tell you that I'm a product of mentorship. And mentorship that then in itself very intentional, because then it begins with just an experience that I had with someone in a workshop at Nairobi School, sometimes back when I was just in the university. And this guy used to work for the UN. And when I just saw whatever he was doing and presenting, I got so mesmerized by that experience of just how can someone do this? This is something interesting and I want to do this. And so during tea breaks, I reached out to this guy. I spoke to him and I told him, I really like what you do and I would want to do more. And then he asked me, what are you doing at the moment? I told him I work for a program. And he told me, reach out to me over the weekend. We can meet and talk. So we met and talked. And when I actually met him, he was having his laptop doing the same thing that I saw him present the previous workshop. So then from there, he told me, if you're interested, of course, just all you need is a laptop, and then I can be giving you some assignments, you're shadowing. As I give you some instruction, you start doing that, and then we can compare notes and send these how it goes. But beyond shadowing, where the person gives me the assignment and I go do at home, this person gave me a chance, invite me for forums when he's going to present, when he's going actually to those meetings. And I go there and experience that. And then the relationship just built and built and grew. And it's just been a story. So we still have a very good relationship with my mentor. I just awarded my mentor a cow 2023 December. But we still have very good relationship. We still check in on each other every now and then. My mentor has now recommended so many young people to me from his family, from his network, and we continue growing that relationship just beyond work, even into business, even into family. So that's why I'm saying I am a staunch and a believer in this course you're calling mentorship, and it's something that I would recommend whether I'm dead or alive to anyone. I can pray to them to get the spirit to connect with a good mentor to help them succeed in life. Eric, back to you.
Wonderful, Chris. We are glad to hear that. And actually, having known you for quite a long time, I can confirm that there are a lot of very many people that have passed through you actually right now called successful. Yeah. So at this point, maybe the next 5 minutes or so before we close this session, I will invite any person who's got a question for Chris concerning mentorship. You are welcome. You can either use the chat or unmute. Any questions? Use the chat or unmute. Any questions for Chris? Okay, I think just as I expected, Chris, you really exhausted this topic of mentorship, and I wasn't expecting any question from anyone. Yeah. So let me invite Mentor 001 for the mentorship, the Old Okelo mentorship program, Honorable Okelo, to probably also say something as we close. Walter, if you can hear me. Walter? I think he's not able to hear me. Yeah. So, Chris, your final remarks on the
Yeah,
topic or
my final
anything?
remark.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Eric, I think for me, I just want to give some key takeaways as I encourage the people on this team. You know, we talked about mentorship as an opportunity to help you to spur growth, either personal level or career. So one of the things that I would really want to encourage you, number one, please, and I implore you, find a mentor, and especially one who will help you align your goals, values, and your experiences. And how then do you do that? You can consult with people. You can actually seek for referrals because you may not know them. You may search online, you may not know the person. But then through referral, I think it works best because through such kind of programs, I'm sure they build what? Like a database of mentors, and then they can match you with the right mentor. So that's really critical. If by any chance any one of you is already in a mentorship program, please be proactive, take the lead, nurture the relationship, and be open to be able to support your mentor to help you. Support me so that I support you. And finally, really saying that if you ever thought of doors opening for you or windows opening for you, consider mentorship as part of those that you need to include as keys that can help you open doors. Sometimes we tend to forget about many things. We just focus on to the person I know, sending my CVs, and through even mentorship, I've seen many people redirect, or through those kind of connection that you make through mentorship, you learn very excellent opportunities that can help you become a person, as I said, who then experiences life in an optimal way. Otherwise, if you make it a two-way and you stick to some of the tips that we've shared here, I can't see any reason as to why you can't succeed in both your personal and career life. Even for students, you can start with a lecturer and then move along the way to get someone in the career space. Even those already in the career space, don't shy away that it just must be someone already in the career space. There are people who are out of that space who can also share some tips that can be helpful. So please be open, be very intentional when you connect with one, and take advantage and then just fly with it. Otherwise, thanks, Eric, for having me and for the opportunity to speak to the young people.
Thank you to Chris. I think I can't even add more on what you've said. You exhaustively tackled the topic mentorship, the A to Z of it. And personally, even me, I think I'm a product of mentorship. Some relationships have failed, some succeeded, but generally I am where I am because people held my hand, people showed me direction. And just like Chris had said, uh, consider mentorship as one of the tools that you require to succeed to get there. Actually, you even get faster when you just have a mentor who has all the qualities that Chris had mentioned to just hold you. Yeah. So that is very important. Yeah. Chris, there's a question on the chat. If maybe I see we still have some 5 minutes, I can just take you back. Brent is asking, are there any metrics or feedback systems in place to ensure the mentorship relationship is beneficial for both parties? How do you measure success in mentorship?
Who was asked that, Brenda? That's a very good question. I have problems with organizations and people who run mentorship on that ground. Eric introduced me as a male expert or a monitoring, evaluation, running, research and learning expert or advisor. And so my interest in the work that I do is really measuring progress. Unfortunately, because we don't peg our relationship on really metrics and what we can measure. So how will we know that over time I've been able to achieve something? That's why I said politically, some people get bored along the way and they drop because we didn't have a scale to measure progress, because we didn't find goals, and goals must be very measurable. If it is, for example, helping me to acquire specific skills, can we really get down to list or even define those skills so that then you can come up with the metrics? In fact, for me, I wish I had time, but for me, I have, for every mentorship that I do, I have all their records, their story, our mentorship plan, which is a timetable on the activity they're going to do, an activity I'm doing with them as a mentor. And then I normally have a report, and that report is actually as a result of the metrics. That's why I said you have pause and reflect. Pause and reflect moment, even if you are not tools, the opportunity for you to measure progress. You wanted to learn this. What do you think? Have you been able to gain or get just basic knowledge or some hands-on? And then you can do that. Some people are really meticulous. They have those details. I do that for my mentees. Some may not have, but an opportunity to sit and reflect on your progress based on the goals, that's a plus. So again, as I said, not everyone can be really that a perfectionist and design mentorship to a certain degree, but it would be nice for you to agree with your mentor on the specific things that will actually be indicating the progress that you're making with them. And yes, we need, and they're in place, and I'm happy to share with you. Someone says, I would like to connect with you. Eric can help you connect with me. A lot of people have gone further than they thought they could because someone else thought. Okay, I agree with you, Lynette. Yeah, so those are really good reflection, good question. Thank you for that. I think, Eric, you can share or let me know if there is need to share some samples of like reports or screening report that I do or work plan that I do with my.
Sorry?
I'm saying, let me know. I can share with you samples, for example, of the screening report that I write with my mentees.
Yes.
Work plan that I develop with my mentees, and then measurement metrics that I use.
Sure. Yeah, you can share with me, then probably share with those who are here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Then I'm also saying I think LinkedIn is a good place to connect with you. First, Chris does a lot of posts that are actually very beneficial to those that they
Yes.
want to meet. So please connect with Chris on LinkedIn, Chris Ouma IREX. I think Chris Ouma IREX then will give you the results of him. Then you can connect there and engage from there. Because I think it's only in LinkedIn that is a social media platform that you're most active in. I'm not sure whether you're in Facebook or Twitter
Yeah, I kind of
X.
went. Oh, Elon Musk chased me away, so I decided to.
Okay. So LinkedIn is
Now it's
good,
been
yeah.
active.
So
But anyway, we can connect.
yeah, on LinkedIn, and if maybe he agrees to share the email address, okay, I can share that. That is if he gives permission for that. Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
LinkedIn
sure,
is
you
a
can.
good is okay. So
Yeah,
I'll
thank you. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it.
yeah. So again, thank you very much, Chris, for this. It's been very beneficial. We also as a mentorship program we've learned, and I think there's also a few improvements that we're going to make in terms of how we engage with our mentees. Yeah. So also
Perfect.
connect with us as a mentorship program, Otokelo mentorship program on all social media platforms. We are on X, LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. Uh, Always connect with us because we also share a lot of opportunities and also webinars like this. The next one is on 27th. Also another interesting topic that will be beneficial to you. Yeah. I also want to thank you all for just turning up. I know we had other engagements, but we felt it better to just come here. Yeah. So let's keep the conversation. Let's reach out. Let's connect and ensure that you've got a mentor. If you didn't have a mentor, please begin the journey of having one. And in the next 6 months, let us know how that mentee mentor relationship has been effective for you. Yeah. Asanteni sana, and have a good evening, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.